G'day guys, my name is CJ, and if you're a subscriber, you probably know that I'm a fan of smartwatches, even if the genre is dominated by a certain fruit company. My favourite smartwatch for value was, and still is, the TicWatch E by Mobvoi, but where it won plaudits for price, it compromised in features to get there. So Q 2018, new year, new product, and maybe this year Mobvoi's new product won't be as compromising. This is the TicWatch Pro. Let's take a look. Now Mobvoi is no stranger to smartwatches, and they are innovators, starting with their original TicWatch, the Classic and Active, combining classy design with an intuitive UI with their Tickle feature. Segue into the more familiar touch of Android Wear, we've got the TicWatch E and X. Pure value. Put frankly, Mobvoi have been around the block, and it really shows, especially with this one here. To start off with, unboxing the TicWatch Pro is a much more familiar experience compared to the previous model. It comes with a nice cardboard box and structured pretty similarly as you'd expect any gadget to be, with all the bits and pieces you'd expect. Now, putting the watch aside, mad shout out to Mobvoi for actually providing a true charging cradle instead of the flimsy 4-point magnetic cable that came with the cheaper E and S brethren. And this becomes the general gist of the TicWatch Pro. It's a premium Wear OS smartwatch that corrects the quirk of the E and S, sprinkling a few extra features that are very interesting indeed on top. To start off with, the main feature to talk about is the new layered display technology, which is just a fancy way of saying that there's two screens fused into one on this gadget. On the top, there's a black and white FST and LCD display, and directly underneath is an OLED display, similar to the one you'd find on the E and S. This allows the watch to dynamically switch between the two modes, Essential and Smart in the name of battery life. Essential mode is that. It shows all the essential stuff, time, battery, date, and a few other bits and pieces with no customization. Basically what you'd get on a standard digital watch. Smart mode on the other hand is exactly what you'd expect as well. All the smart features, Wear OS in all its glory. This is all customizable depending on the user. Out of the box, the watch defaults to a setting that dynamically switches between the LCD display when it's idle and then the OLED full smart experience when you tilt and wake the watch. In terms of overall visibility outdoors and indoors, the Essential Mode LCD screen is a little bit challenging to see indoors. Outdoors, it is completely fine, and then the same can be said with the OLED screen. Indoors, brilliant to look at. Outdoors, a little bit more challenging. But again, not the worst that I've ever seen. There's settings inside that you can choose to either use it in full Essential mode for maximum battery life, or in full Smart mode for battery sucking, Wear OS, OLED shining goodness. So depending on how you like to roll, you can expect between 2 full days in Smart mode or all the way up to 30 days in full Essential mode. For me, using in the mixed setting with heavy notifications, I've been rocking between 2 to 3 full days of use, which is excellent as far as OLED smartwatches go. There's even a battery saving setting where it switches to Essential mode when the battery starts hitting 5, 10, 15, or even 20%. Pretty nifty stuff and fares incredibly well against competitors like the Apple Watch or the Gear S3. Coupled with a beefier 415 mAh battery, it beats out the TicWatch E and S by a healthy margin and of at least a day of battery life in my experience. For some, it doesn't seem like much, but for others it makes all the difference. And for me, any extra battery life is always a win. Now what else is improved is the look and feel. Whilst the TicWatch E was very utilitarian in how simple it was designed, it isn't particularly interesting. The Pro looks like an elegant timepiece, at least from a distance. Delve a little bit closer and you'll notice a bit of a mixed bag of plastic outer casing and buttons combined with a premium stainless steel for the outer ring around the face and the under casing protecting the internals and the heart rate sensor. The case has a nice matte feel to it, and whilst it may seem on the cheap side, Mobvoi insists that the hard nylon that they use is reinforced with a glass fiber for extra sturdiness. In any case, and whatever that means, it at least results in a relatively light watch and in no way contributes to wrist fatigue, meaning it works incredibly well as a day-to-day carry. Now this is combined with an easily customizable smart hybrid wrist strap that at its core is a silicone strap for flexibility and breathability. On the outside, it's lined with a nice leather material, and it's actually genuine leather, not some fake PVC vinyl you'd see on gadgets and cameras. The one I have is black, but there are other colors available as well. Wearing the watch is super comfortable and works incredibly well for activities ranging from day-to-day stuff all the way through to really hardcore exercise. It also ups its IP rating from IP67 in the ENS to IP68, meaning it can technically withstand submergence in water up to 1.5 meters for 30 minutes. But that being said, I still wouldn't recommend taking it for a swim or a hot shower. Now, in terms of user experience, Wear OS is as you'd expect. Setup is straightforward, but there's nothing overly groundbreaking about its use. Notifications work well, and fitness tracking is here as well, with GPS, and there's even a Mobvoi app that covers all of that as well. However, the UI is still a little hit and miss with regards to the experience. Some love it, some hate it, but it does the job in the end. And the job it does in Wear OS, it does with speed and fluidity thanks to the Snapdragon 2100 chip with 512 megabytes of RAM. Animations and transitions are buttery smooth without a hint of lag. Apps load quicker than before, not quite instant, but then no smartwatch is instant. The biggest Wear OS feature that personally I was crying out for was NFC compatibility for Google Pay, and finally Mobvoi have brought it here. Whilst you do have to have your phone on you, the scanning still also takes a little longer than I expected, but it's an excellent convenience to have with you. It was also using Google Pay where I noticed how lackluster the vibration motor was, because sometimes I could barely even make out the watch vibrating to confirm the transaction. The gold standard for haptic feedback still sits with the Apple Watch and the Taptic engine. And speaking of other small niggles, the transition from smart mode to essential mode is kind of slow, a little bit laggy, and it's not an overly major issue, but I noticed it pretty early. Good thing is, I tended to ignore that the more I used it. The ambient light sensor isn't particularly reliable either, often being either too dim or too bright in most settings, and the lack of their tickle navigation is disappointing. It was a great innovation when their TicWatch Classic was available, and given how much swiping there is in Wear OS, it just seemed logical to bake it in. And then finally, the price. The TicWatch ENS were easily recommended because they were one of the more affordable options on the market, starting at 220 Australian dollars or 160 US dollars. The Pro costs up to 370 Australian dollars or around 275 US dollars, and that's not cheap. But then again, it remains pretty competitive when you consider Apple Watches start at 360 for a Series 1 model or 460 for a Series 3 model. And then Samsung's own Gear S3 ranges between 350 to 450 and over these days. So with all things considered, the TicWatch Pro for 370 really isn't a bad price. So should you buy one? If you want a very capable Android smartwatch with all the features you could ask for, and more, in a watch that's also attractive, customizable, and for what it's worth, reasonably priced, then the TicWatch Pro definitely ticks all the boxes for me. You can check out the Pro and Mobvoi's other watches in the links down below. Anyway, thanks so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed what you saw, remember to give us a like, and if you haven't already, do consider subscribing and hitting the bell icon to receive notifications of all my new videos as they drop. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Say good day, Mum, for me. Cheers.